But I want to quickly talk about Samsung right now. So this is going to be sort of backwards because a lot of people think I'm a Samsung fanboy. No, I'm not. And I'm going to tell you guys why. And I'm going to tackle this in both ways. But let me just set up the story for you guys. So a lot of articles have been released in the last few days about how, because Samsung finally released the sales numbers of the recent S6. And the S6 Edge. And obviously, they've been a little bit lackluster. They've been slightly behind the S5 sales last year. And all of a sudden, all these companies, like all these tech vlogs and sites and channels are reporting, Business Insider, ZPax, and CNET, Yahoo, everybody is saying, oh, Samsung is done. They're done. They've messed up with the S6 and now they're paying for it. They pretty much made their own Achilles heel. They're not an innovative company anymore. And they're just ripping them apart, and they're going ahead and praising Apple again. I have no doubt in my mind that these are paid articles, because every single article's praised Apple for being the continuous innovative company out there. I'll get to them in a second because that pissed me off. But I'm going to go back to Samsung, and I'm going to pretty much give you guys my opinion from both sides. Once again, I do my best to be unbiased, because I probably am sometimes biased, but I do my best to be unbiased. And I'm going to give you guys both sides of pictures. Okay, so a lot of people are saying that Samsung has pretty much, with the recent S6 and now the announcement, not the official announcement, but the speculations of the Gear A/Orbis, pretty much the round smartwatch, that they are no longer innovating anymore and that they're just following the other companies. People are like, and I personally gave it too, like the S6, I don't have it with me because my girlfriend has it, but like the bottom pieces of it, if you look on the edges of the regular S6, it looks sort of like the iPhone 6. There's no doubt. I mean, they look similar. They went with the full glass back like the original Apple iPhone 4 was like, instead of going with a full metal back. I mean, the phone feels great, but there's hints of Apple in it, and people were giving it a lot of crap. And I personally did a little bit, but I decided to look past that and a little bit. But let's get back. I'll get back on topic. But aside from the S6, I thought the S6 Edge, aside from the edge, like on the top and bottom, looking at like the iPhone 6, I thought the S6 Edge looked a lot more. It was a gorgeous looking phone. People are really overlooking that. They came out with probably the best design, in my opinion, one of the better designed phones that have come out in recent years. It's got probably some of the best stats and performance. It's got a great functionality in it. It's not a bad phone. It really isn't. People are like, these articles are talking like the phone is a bad phone. What are the negatives of of the new flagship phones? And the big negatives are the fact that they omitted a lot of the functionality that pretty much is what sold them before, like the removable back and removable battery, as well as the SD expansion card slot. Very simple things you can think of, but these little pieces of freedom, essentially in a smartphone device, was a big selling point. It was a selling point for me, for the fact that, like, back when the S3 came out, the Galaxy S3. Oh wait, I could buy a 16 gigabyte phone and throw in a 64 gigabyte SD card that I can buy for like $40. Sold. And that's sold for a lot of people. And then on top of that, obviously the openness of the Android market, the OS compared to the iOS, also drew a lot of people. But initially, that drew in a lot of people, and they omitted it, and that pissed off a lot of people. Now, is that going to make or break the phone? It shouldn't. I mean, they probably lost a good handful of sales, but we're not talking like they lost 10 million sales due to it not having a removable back. Like, let's be realistic, folks, because a lot of the people who have these phones are currently in the middle of a contract and stuff. But let's be realistic out there. Like, yes, Apple pretty much owns more than half the market. So what that pretty much means, let's say if the market's 100 million phones out there, easily 20, 30 million of them are at least 2 generations behind. So when they announce a new version, those people who are 2 generations behind, there's 20 million sales for them right there. That's why they can get it, because I mean, you got to look at it that way. If you look at it that way, then these sales start to make sense. It's not like people upgrade phones year over year. Yes, I understand there are people who do that, but it's not 50 million, 30 million people doing that. 80 million people, which is Samsung's estimated sales goals. That's not realistic. People are not because let's just look at the United States, 300 million people. 80 million of them aren't going to just drop their phone current year and trade it. Not everyone's rich in this country, so most people are going to wait for the 2-year upgrade. So right now, the majority of people getting the S6 are the people who have the S4 or even the S3 or even like a prepaid like Android Alpha A or something like that. That might be incorrect, but so they're selling to those people right now. And the thing is, Samsung comes out with their new flagship phone at a kind of a weird time period, because they come out in the middle of the spring. And if you think about it, the majority of people who get these phones typically get them around the holidays, if you think about it. So near the fall. And so that's why I think also, like, Apple also sells really well too, is because they release their new phone right when a lot of people's contracts are pretty much coming up. And I mean, I'm even like, me and a lot of my friends are like around November, December period. And so, like, I don't want to linger. Sorry, I know I'm dragging on that point, but that's something that you really should think about when you're looking at these datas. Like, you can't just take them at face value. You really got to understand how the market works. Another thing they talked about was how they lost market share in China immensely because of Apple. And it's not just because of Apple. There are a lot of companies appearing in China right now that are starting to make, number one, exact knockoffs of pretty much their devices, and number two, they're also making competitive devices as well too. So it's not just all copycat devices. They're also, technically they're copycat, but they're also making new phones as well too. So they're making comparable phablet phones and watches to compete with Samsung directly, offering cheaper alternatives. Are they a better phone? That's yet to be seen. I haven't personally tested it, so I don't want to give up an opinion on that. But it's nice to see that. It's pretty much like, I'll compare it to like Toyota. Like Toyota is like Samsung. Samsung's fine. The Toyota is offering good cars and good value, and they enter a market that they've owned for a while. Then here comes along a cheaper alternative. So here's well, I don't know. Not Scion. What's cheaper than Toyota? Imagine, okay, Fiat. Let's just say it's Fiat comes along. And they started undermining all their sales because they're offering pretty much the same car for cheaper. I know it's a horrible analogy, but you can think of it that way. So it's not like people are going to, like, yes, Toyota lost market share, but it's not like they're not selling cars still. They just lost to a cheaper thing. Sorry for these bad analogies, folks. But I mean, going back and then just going back to the statement of why Samsung's not appearing to be an innovative company anymore. Because another article and rumor speculation, actually, Mr. Leonard actually pointed out, or Mika, Mika just said here, is that there's rumors going around that the Note 5, pretty much Samsung's flagship phablet phone, the Note 5 won't have the S Pen anymore. And it's like, it's a rumor. It's a rumor. And I love how these articles, these notable tech companies, these tech review companies, these channels and these websites are so shameless. Like, they hear something or they make up something too. You gotta understand, they may be making up crap in order to just get, like, I look at some of these articles and some of them have 500,000 views, 1 million views, 10 million views because of a rumor. And it's just sad to see that, like, people are just so quick to jump the gun. If you look at all of Samsung's tablets, notes, their family phones, what is the key selling point? What sets them apart between every other device out there? And it's the S Pen, and that it has been from day one. Look at Microsoft, the thing I just talked about earlier, the Surface Pro 3. What gives it the edge over the other tablets? And it's that pen. That stylus actually has functionality that does really well. And that's something that you cannot overlook when you're looking at these devices. Why the hell would they get rid of it if that was pretty much one of their biggest selling points? I mean, you can question maybe a lot of people didn't use it, so they admitted to save cost, but I don't think that is. I don't think that's going to be true. I think they're going to add in more functions, because if you look at it, the past, like every single, yeah, exactly, Lewis Carlin, it's no S Pen, that's not a Note, exactly. Like the whole point of the last, look at every single rendition of the Note ever since it came out in, I believe, 2011. Okay, yes, and Samsung had the first phablet phone back in 2011. Apple finally brings out a larger screen 3 years later. But every version of the Note has always improved upon the functionality of the S Pen. I mean, there's no denying that. They've improved it every single year, added more functionality to it, made it more durable. Just in general, made it more smooth, more responsive. Like the Note 4, I love the S Pen. I use it pretty much 50% of the time. So, I mean, there's that. And quickly, I want to go ahead and address Apple really quick, because a lot of the articles were like, well, now that Apple has released their phablet device, Samsung cannot compete anymore because now Apple offers the most superior phablet phone. I hate these people. I really hate people who say that, just because it's not. All the phablets right now, when you compare it to the Note 4, you can't compare them. And it's because the Note from day one was designed as a phablet phone in mind, as a big phone. It knows it's a big phone, so it adds one-handed functionality. It adds certain functions into the device to make it use easier, to utilize that space, not just make a small screen bigger. That would pretty much essentially what the other devices have done. They just gave you more real estate without actually using the real estate. I mean, that's stupid. I mean, yes, a lot of people will enjoy it, but people are just missing the point. Like, people are saying the iPhone 6 Plus is the most innovative phablet phone ever. No, you guys are, it's, do the research. All right, Samsung has gone through 4 generations, and by the time this fall comes out, 5 generations of these devices. They've had time to refine it, to make it work well. They've put in and omitted stuff that they saw that they didn't need. The pen is not going to be omitted. Why the hell would they do that? Then why would you call it a Note? The whole point of the Note was to be like a notepad. All right? And if they don't bring out the Note 5 with the S Pen and certain other things, then I will probably jump ship as well. I am not loyal to Samsung purely. So there's that. Now, am I angry with them going in directions that are out of the norm? Yes. I'm not happy with the fact that they're jumping on the bandwagon of the watches, of the smartwatches. They're pretty much just following the bandwagon of what Motorola started, then LG hopped on, then Huawei, and some of the other companies are jumping on. And so Samsung decided, it's like, oh, I guess circle devices are popular, so we're going to make one too. I'm a little unhappy about that. It's because aside from the Pebble Watch, Samsung was the first major tech firm to bring out the smartwatch, a full working color notification, calls and everything. Like, the first Gear was awesome. I had one. I loved it. I mean, I had some complaints, but a few months down the line, what did Samsung do? They released the 2, and they improved it like it was night and day. And then for me, it was like, all right, it was good, but I want something more towards fitness, and they brought the Gear Fit out, and I love that thing. And the Gear Fit was a beast. I wish I made my channel last year and I started off with my review of the Gear Fit, because that thing was an animal. But they were innovative constantly with each rendition, and with the Gear S, it was like their swan song. It was like the cherry on top. I mean, damn, like, when that came out, I thought that was going to be the like pretty much the blockbuster sales. And I think Samsung thought so as well. But what Samsung failed to do, and I think this is pretty much their main reason for not doing well as they hope to is their piss poor marketing. And that has been my theme and my grudge with Samsung, is that their marketing team, whoever their VP of marketing is, and I think it was that Asian lady that came out during their S6 press conference, you are horrible. You are doing a absolute horrible job. Your watches have been out for 2 years. You had a 2-year advantage on Apple. And then when Apple comes out, that's when people know about smartwatches. So there's something clearly wrong there. And the fact that even the current people who are interested in buying the Samsung Gear S don't know it has a standalone function. The fact that they don't know that. So I'm sorry, I probably dragged on long enough talking about Samsung's woes, but I don't believe they're gonna do bad. They're setting up for the future, because if you really look at their ecosystem, they are creating a bunch, pretty much a device ecosystem. So not only from the phone, but to the watch, to headphones now, so the Gear Circles, which are pretty much very portable, to the Levels, TVs. All of these devices are going to speak to each other soon. You don't make all of these smart devices and not let them work with one another. Like, that is my gut feeling. I feel like they're setting up for the future. And if you look at the S6, aside from the removable back and everything, it is a beast of a phone. And I can only hope that the Note 5 will just take it even further. Everyone, if you can agree with me, 4K resolution, please then now make the Gear VR a lot easier to use. Oh, that's another thing. They're not innovative. They're trying to bring virtual reality to mainstream. They're the first ones to bring any of these prototype things to mass market. They are trying. Apple didn't bring Apple saw what Pebble did. They didn't try to bring the smartwatches out first. No, they waited 2 years. Virtual reality was starting to pick up with Oculus and stuff, and all of a sudden people were getting popular. So Samsung decides to bring out one for the Note 4 by partnering up with Oculus. Apple didn't do anything like that. I mean, Google answered back with a cardboard saying, "Why spend $200? You can buy this cheap little cardboard unit." Apple hasn't done anything.